The Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday about the legality of the NCAA's amateurism model. And the justices raised some interesting questions. Would you, if you paid the players, would that ruin college sports? What does the NCAA get as far as they get to pretty much establish the terms for the labor market? Why is that? Is amateurism an outdated concept altogether? And I like what's going on because those questions need to be brought up. And if you look at what athletes get, and some of these athletes in the revenue-producing sports, what they get, they pretty much decide how much money is going to be the trickle down to these other sports and keeping these other sports alive. It's really important for them with what these football players went through this year. They weren't amateurs. They really weren't. The way they were treated or what they were asked to do, they weren't. Even the basketball players going into the bubble. This isn't normal, but we're asking them to be normal. Or, hey, this is just a one-off here. I was listening to Clay Travis this morning, and Clay brought up something interesting on Fox Sports Radio. Clay said, hey, imagine if you're a star football player, you give an autograph to somebody, they could sell the autograph. You signing the autograph can't get paid, can't get compensated. It's tricky. There's a lot of things involved in this. Do I think that there are great benefits by being an athlete? And it's not a student athlete. You're an athletic student. You're asked to do more than just, hey, show up and go to school and play a little bit of football here. It's going to go on for a little while. The justices seem to be asking the right questions. There's no easy answers here. You can ask the questions, no easy answers when it comes to college athletics. And I know that we get into this conversation, we head down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden we start talking about, well, your education. You get paid by getting a free education. You do. But there are certain athletes. Zion Williamson was worth a whole lot more than just his education at Duke. I think we can all agree. Johnny Manziel or Tim Tebow. We can go down the list of great players who meant a little bit more to the sport. And I think that's what some of these athletes are saying. Look, I want to own my likeness. Can I take advantage of signing autographs? If I go to a car dealership or a furniture store, can I get compensated? This is something that's going to continue. The conversation will, and maybe we render a different verdict here as we move forward. The fact that you had all of the college basketball teams sort of in the bubble in Indianapolis, they were in one location, and they wanted a meeting with Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA. They wanted to have a conversation, and there was the possibility for a movement to maybe not play the games, or at least play on time, start on time. They wanted to send a message to the NCAA. And Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, said that he was not going to meet with these players, some of these players from different universities. Are we going to get to that point? Probably so. But I think in this past calendar year, I don't think you can look at these athletes and go, oh, just shut up and dribble, or shut up and, play football. You get a free education. They were asked to do a whole lot more than just that. And I think you have to be fair to them. Yeah, Paul.
I was watching the Supreme Court proceedings yesterday, and they were discussing how the landscape for college athletes has changed from 100 years ago, obviously. But because of social media, there's avenues where they can make money that weren't available even 20 years ago. They use Trevor Lawrence as an example. Imagine Trevor Lawrence was getting paid by companies to be an endorser over the past years on his social media. Fine. But people say, well, he's going to make money anyway. There's these twin college basketball players who are very well known on social media, and they're passing up hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue by not promoting products when the average college student would be allowed to.
Yeah, I just like to, go back to what I brought up, that Clay Travis mentioned, that if I can't sign my autographs and get paid, but you can take my autograph and put it on eBay. You could take my jersey and put it on eBay. Johnny Manziel got paid. To what degree? Not quite sure, but we know he got paid. I'm sure there are other athletes who are getting paid under the table. Do this for me. You get meals comp. There's a lot of great benefits, but not every athlete gets that. It's usually just the revenue-producing sports. It's not like somebody in water polo is going to get compensated. Women's volleyball, just not going to happen. And not everybody should be compensated unless you do something where you do a minimum wage with the number of hours that you're going to put in. But then when do you cut it off? We've discussed this, and we discussed it from so many different angles. If you're the quarterback at Nevada or you're the quarterback at Alabama, who deserves more? The quarterback at Alabama does. But if you're going to say, well, let's just all get minimum wage here. Okay, then are you being fair to Mac Jones at Alabama as opposed to the quarterback at Nevada? That's where it's tricky here. But I do think viewing these athletes as athletes who also are going to college, given what's happened in the last year, is, not mandatory, but it's certainly, that's where I weigh in on that side. We asked them to do an awful lot this past year. Yeah, McLevin.
But won't name, image, likeness change a lot of this? They'll start getting paid for their signature in 3 months. They're going to start signing everything, getting paid all over the place.
But not by the schools.
Not by the schools, right. But they will make money.
But they're making, the NCAA, they're making billions here. And the players don't get that. And I think that's what the players are saying. We might get it from, Frank Z. Chevrolet, where I go and sign autographs on a Saturday afternoon. But is that going to be enough? Your image and your likeness. Yes, Eden.
But what kind of check would a sports drink company have given Trevor Lawrence for the last year?
Sure.
That would have been probably a lot more than any school could have paid him.
Yeah, And Gatorade would sign you up, and all of a sudden, get an agent. You have to declare the income that you have here. It's worth the thought, the conversation there. I'm not saying it's ideal, but amateurism, that's a tricky word. I mean, who really is an amateur? Olympic athletes aren't amateurs, but it's under the umbrella of being an amateur. Like, they're not. Yeah, Paul.
The other tough part, and again, I was listening yesterday, is which sports to pay and which sports not to pay. Let's say they made a thing, the NCAA said all collegiate athletes get minimum wage for their 20 hours of practice a week. Well, the thing there is, Alabama football brings in a lot of revenue, no problem. But Alabama men's golf is a money pit. Yeah. That's a cost. And now there's a more cost to pay these guys. They'll say, well, we'll just cut men's golf because we're not going to spend money, much more money. So only revenue-producing sports will stay.
Yeah, you don't want to lose these other sports, but those other sports know that they're beholden to the revenue-producing sports on campus. That's how all of this works. And that's why you saw some of these universities eliminate, whether it was golf or volleyball or baseball, because during the pandemic, you didn't have that income. Yes, McLovin.
But on its face, like, the football players should be out there getting concussions to support the golf team. That's insane. I mean, there's no reason the football team should be supporting the golf team and the sailing team and the fencing team. I feel like the money should be going to the players, not to support these other programs, often which are like crazy rich kid sports, like water polo. Like, they don't need to support those. The parents will support them.
Once again, it's a conversation that needs to happen. It's a mess. I mean, it really is. When you got justices who probably should be worried about other things, working on other things, and they're talking about this. But it's going to continue, and I don't know when they render a verdict. It's probably going to be weeks, maybe months here, but that's what's going on with the Supreme Court.